right now,
Time listener and a first-time caller.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. The reason I'm calling is because I'm almost 50 years old, and my grandma and grandpa used to have a corner grocery store. The kind of grocery store where when somebody walked in, they knew everybody by name.
Mm-hmm.
They'd walk up and pick out a piece of meat, and my grandpa used to hand grind it to make hamburger for them.
Absolutely.
I used to work behind a penny candy counter with a cigar box and sell candy to the kids as they came in, and my salary was all the candy that I could eat. The purpose of my call is the lack of personalization in business today, and the Safeway strike is just another blow to it. I live in Concord. I deal at the Clayton Safeway store. I've dealt there a long time, and I know the people there. I mean, when I go back to the butcher, his name's Joe, and I want some beef jerky. He hand cuts it for me. He trims it for me. After I make my beef jerky, I'll come back and I'll give him a piece, and he'll taste it and he'll say, "That's really great. You did a good job, Larry." I know the people at the counters, in the bakery, and the clerks. And what I'm seeing through the strike is that they don't want Safeway to have that personalization. They're looking to be more like the Costco. They want to be able to compete with them and have people that work for Costco to have the same mentality, or the people at Safeway to have the same mentality as the people at Costco. And I don't want that. I want, when I walk into the store, for those people to say, "Hi, Larry, how you doing?" or "I'm going to cut this way for you." And I find that there's a great lack of personalization in American business today, and this is just another way for us to degrade the society that we have today.
Well, if I remember correctly, Nordstrom's made a fortune based on the idea that people will pay more money to get good service.
It took the words out of my mouth. If you take a look at one of the most successful furniture chains in the country, it's a company that gives great service. And when I walk into my Clayton store, and I get the type of service that I get, there's a guy by the name of Dennis. I've got this thing for Lipton iced tea with lemonade, and the store didn't carry it. And I told him about it, and so he went out of his way, and they carry it for me over at the store. Now, I hate to say this, but Safeway, for a lot of people like myself, has become a mom-and-pop grocery store. People that live nearby, people that shop there often, people that get to know the personnel there at Safeway. It's a good feeling. It makes me feel good when I walk in. It makes me feel good to be called by my first name. And for Safeway to want to change that and to turn it into a Costco where I have to buy 4 bottles of A1 sauce to get A1 sauce, or I have to buy a case of something, that's not what I want.
Well, that's not what they want either. Let's get rid of this myth that this is all about competing with Costco. If they were really losing money on their traditional stores and wanted to compete with Costco, they'd never build another traditional store, and they'd build all warehouses.
Absolutely.
The fact of the matter is Safeway is building new traditional stores, remodeling to the cost of millions of dollars, other older traditional stores. So obviously those stores are making money. And you are the perfect example that people who shop at Costco don't shop at Safeway because they're looking for different things at different times.
I do shop at Costco at times.
Well, we do too. My wife, we do. When we want to get some bulk items, we will go there. But the bottom line is most people who shop in traditional stores do more shopping there than they do in the warehouse stores. They are not in competition with each other. The warehouse stores may be in competition with each other, but they're not in competition with Safeway. And if, in fact, Safeway was losing money on all these stores, they would not be building new ones. It just wouldn't make any logical or common sense. But I thank you for the call, and your point is extremely well made. People go to stores and people go to places where they get good service. And the better the service, the more often they will come back.
But I also support the replacement baggers, and I support the owners. I mean,
sorry, you can't do it all.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we need 2 incomes now. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that your expectations of owning your own house in this country 20 years from now is going to be like a fairy tale. So I just don't it doesn't take a rocket science, but it takes a fool to think any other way.
Okay. Well, that's exactly what we're counting on. Less fools and more wise people, and less rocket scientists. 1059 KGO News Talk 810 Time, the Bernie Ward program. Information.
And I just wanted to let her know that both my husband and I work for Safeway, and we are not deadbeats out there striking. All we wanted to do was keep our benefits that we already have, and I don't see no problem why they couldn't just renew the contract instead of bringing it to this point.
Well, Kay says that she'd like to take your job, and maybe if they got rid of all of you, things would be better.
Well, it's not going to be any better for her.
No, it's not. I mean, it's so silly for anybody to be a replacement worker and to think that by taking somebody else's job, they're not going to do exactly the same thing to them down the road.
I mean, it was like, they gave us this ultimatum, and what are we supposed to do? We have to make a stand for, what we want. We can't just sit back and take everything they want to take away.
Well, I saw the proposal, and I'm insulted, and I'm not a Safeway worker or a Lucky worker or a Safeway.
I've been there for like 10 years, and they want to take the retiree benefits away.
Yeah, that's the one that, of all of the proposals they've made, the one that is the most unconscionable is to take the benefits away from people who've already retired.
I mean, it's just, they want it. It's unbelievable what they want.
Yeah, what it says is, you've given us 30 years or 25 years of your life, and we could care less. We just want to get our money back.
Exactly, and they're supposed to be having this superior customer service, and this is the superior customer service that they're giving our customers.
Well, I hope it's a short-lived strike. I do.
Well, I just want to let Kay know that we're not deadbeats.
Yeah, I have to be...
We have a family, and we have to pay our bills, whether we're on strike or not.
Yeah, and there's no creditor out there that's going to wait and say, okay, I'll give you a couple of months grace period.
Exactly.
I thank you very much. I'm glad you called. People can be so short-sighted, and people can be so caught up in their own situation that they are incapable of looking at anybody else's. Cliff in Fremont. Good evening. Welcome to KGO with Bernie Ward.
Hi, Bernie. I don't understand why you're so down on the Republican contract.
The stores. It seems to me like unions are good for skilled workers, truck drivers, professional athletes, people that are trained. Grocery clerks, I think that job could be done by young people for $7 or $8 an hour, without pension plans, without benefits. I don't know if we need to have people that are raising families and then they're getting older and better trained.
What do you do for a living?
I work for an insurance company. I'm a claims adjuster.
Now there is a vital.
Union.
There's a vital. We definitely need you work. You work for a marvelous industry that many people would say a chimpanzee could do much better than the people doing it now.
Right. No, I don't want to come across as saying that.
But let's get back to the debate. But first of all, in last year, in 1994, Safeway increased their profits in their last quarter 84%.
Okay. Well,
now, who's responsible for the profits going up?
The management.
Oh, they are. What does the management do on a day-to-day basis that gets people to shop in their store?
Well, a lot of things. Marketing, training employees.
Whoa.
Does a hell of a lot.
Training employees to do what?
To be cordial to people that come into the store.
And if the employees are not cordial and don't stock the shelves and don't go out and don't clean up the messes and don't go out and pick up the carts and don't help people,
they will.
What happens to the customers?
Then the customers won't come in, and it's management's job to keep the people in the jobs that will do that.
Management doesn't have any control over what those people do. Ultimately,
they don't now because there's a union. I think that
no, they don't anyway.
Union versus management. I think that's the biggest problem.
So you don't believe that the people who work there on a day-to-day basis contribute to the profit of the company at all?
No, I don't mean that. They do contribute to it, and they are important. Those are the people that are on the front line.
So if you get an 84, so if the company gets an 84% increase in profit and then turns around to the employees that made that profit and says, oh, by the way, not only are we not going to raise your salary, we're now going to take away all of your benefits as well. Please explain to me the justice of that.
Okay, I don't think there is justice in that, and I think that if the union system wasn't in place, that wouldn't be the situation.
What would be the situation if there wasn't a union?
Well, there are a lot of other industries that will provide profit sharing plans for their employees.
Like what?
Numerous.
Like
businesses.
What?
Any business that's not a union business.
You have a profit sharing.
I'm sorry?
You have profit sharing in your job.
Yes.
Give me some more.
And I've done many other jobs that there were profit sharing programs.
Like what?
Managing car washes. A lot of other jobs like that there are, and I know a lot of people that are involved in that.
So you think that these people working in these places would be getting better benefits, better salary if they weren't unionized?
Yeah, I think so.
Boy.
I definitely think there would be a different atmosphere, a different relationship between the management and the workers if there was no union.
Okay, I appreciate the call. 1141 KGO, News Talk 810 time. If you didn't have a union, you'd be better off. How could anybody believe that any company will treat its employees better if it has no reason to? Where is that out there? Show me any place where that's going on. 1142 KGO News Talk 810 Time. It is the Bernie Ward program.
If you like pasta identity.
It's an abrogation of contract that any lawyer would disallow. But the corporations don't have to obey the law, do they?
Well, and if it gets even worse, if you look right now at one of the biggest scandals in this country, it's the unfunded pension liabilities that exist throughout this country, where corporations have been supposed to, by law, put X amount of dollars into pension programs, and they haven't done it. And there are many people who believe that that shortfall is going to become one of the greatest. It's going to make the savings and loan debacle look like a picnic at Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. And that these corporations are deliberately not putting the money in, because then they'll declare bankruptcy, and they'll try and claim they don't have to put any money in, and people will lose and have no retirement benefits whatsoever when that time comes.
It's terrifying, and may I use your voice on the air for one last note? Everybody should go back and read John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath.
Well, they ought to read that. Then the second thing they ought to do, because I keep hearing this as a Christian nation, is read the Bible. You know, it would be interesting to see which side of this thing Jesus would be on.
Yeah, which end of the Bible.
You know, that's right. And you always hear all these people calling up and saying, I don't care about the workers and yada, 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 and so forth. And yet you and I both know that when it comes to justice, when it comes to fairness, when it comes to a just wage and to people being treated with dignity, there is no doubt which side he would be on. And I always find it fascinating, all these people that are willing to go to church each week and then, of course, ignore the little Jewish carpenter that they're supposed to be following. I thank you very much for the call. I thank you for reading from Jerry Spence. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Profits are so important. They are the religion of corporations, that the end justifies the means, and whatever you have to do to maximize profits is acceptable. There is nothing. There are no rules. There are no ethics. There are no morals. All there is how much profit did you generate. 1040 KGO News Talk 810 Time. It is the Bernie.
Because they have a big drive to try to get us to buy Safeway stock. And I just received in the mail today the notice of the annual meeting of stockholders. And the CEOs and all the bigwigs voted themselves raises for when they retire. And if I have this figured out correctly, when Steve Bird retires after 22 years of service, when he's 65 in the year 2014, he will be making well over $500,000 a year, and I won't have health coverage.
In a pension, he'll get $500,000 a year?
He has an estimated annual benefit of $153 under the Retirement Restoration Plan, which, according to this, they had to change the name of the plan because he was making so much money that it wasn't allowed under the Internal Revenue Service to be called an Employee Retirement Plan. So they had to create another name for it. And then he'll be making $300,000 under the regular retirement plan.
So the guy who's the president of the corporation is going to make $500,000 a year as a pension.
Yep.
And you and people who've already retired will not have any health benefits.
Won't have health coverage. And I also find it real interesting. Last week before we went out, they made us sit down and watch a little propaganda movie, and they admitted that in 1992, when we negotiated our last contract, they were making 8 cents on a dollar, and in 1995, they're making 1.6 cents on a dollar, but yet they want to take away everything they gave us in 1992. And to me, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
Well, let's understand. I'm sitting here with an article from the Oakland Tribune in front of me. Safeway Incorporated surpassed Wall Street estimates when it reported an 82% jump in fourth quarter profits. This is last year. The Oakland-based supermarket chain reported net income rose to $85.3 million, or 69 cents a share, from $46.9 million. Revenue for the quarter rose to $4.89 billion from $4.7 billion. Safeway officials attributed the strong quarter to increased sales and cost-cutting measures.
Well, I think what they really attribute the raise to is what they call a superior customer service. And I think what Safeway management doesn't understand is that Safeway employees are superior customers.
Of course they are. They are the key to it. And if they don't do a good job, people will never come back.
Yeah.
You know, they will not come back. And you know, but we get back to the simple issue of fairness and justice. You are the people producing the profits. You are the people working day to day to make the place successful. And yet Stephen Bird ends up with a pension of $500,000 a year, and you guys lose your benefits, you lose your hours, you have to pay more for health care, you have to work on Christmas, and I'll guarantee you Stephen Bird is not going to work on Christmas, and all of that, and somehow that is just, and it's all done in the light. The great word that you hear is competition. Of course, what competition is pitting one group of workers against another.